What's up everybody, it's Shane here from waitingtobeseen.com. I'm just on my way to the gym. It's a little bit of a rainy day, but I don't mind because I'm excited. Today's Vlogstock Friday is going to be looking at how to make that miniature effect that some of you noticed in last week's vlog. So I'm going to go into town, I'm going to get some footage, and then we're going to have a look at how to make that footage look like a miniature world. It's a good day. Let's get started. Alright everybody, it's the week after I've done a bunch of my shooting and I've gotten over all the tech troubles that I was having last week. If you haven't seen what I meant by tech troubles, then have a look at last week's vlog and you'll see what I was talking about. Everything is ready to go for today's tutorial. So I'm about to show you in After Effects a really great little hack how to make a tilt shift effect with just regular footage. So if you're ready for it, let's jump right in. So first thing we're going to do is actually just bring in some footage into our comp layer here. Now the comp I've got set as HD. First things first, I'm just going to turn off the audio because I don't need the audio. I'm going to come over to the effects control tab because I want to apply an effect. And first thing, go up to the layer tab, come down to time, and we're actually going to time stretch the layer. Now as it stands, the original duration of the footage is just over 13 seconds. However, I don't want it to be that long because I'm trying to make a faux time lapse. I actually want to reduce that. So I'm actually going to say I want this new duration to be 4 seconds even. And you'll see the stretch factor has come down to 29%. And you might think, well, hang on, isn't that slower? Well, just as a heads up, we're basically saying we want you to take the entire length of the footage and show that entire length of footage in this shorter amount of time, so it's sped it up. So I know it might seem a little bit backwards, but that's the way that it's working. That's why it works the way that it works. So we'll click OK, and you'll see now the footage layer has come down to the length of the comp, which by the way is 4 seconds. And if I was to just play that, you'll see everybody's walking around just quickly. Now, they're just walking quickly. There's nothing particularly special about that at the moment. So the next step in this hack is to just make sure that your layer is selected. Come up to layer, actually no, come up to effect, and we're going to come down to time in effect, and we're going to select about halfway through that list is this option here called posterize time, and we're going to click on that. What posterize time does is it allows you and After Effects to interpret footage at a completely different frame rate. I'm actually, because I already know what I'm doing for this particular clip, I'm just going to drop it all the way down to 3 frames to a frame rate of 3. And basically what that does, if I play that back for you, you can see it's almost like it's holding onto a frame and then giving a bit of a beat before then showing another frame. It's a really simple way of getting a pretend time-lapse look. So it's just playing through at the moment. You can see here people are sped up. There's this couple walking down the stairs there at the Opera House, and it looks pretty good. So that is great. The next step that we need is actually going to apply an effect that wouldn't particularly work on just the layer. So what we need to do is pre-compose this layer. And you can do that if you just right-click, like the 4th option from the bottom. You can see there is pre-compose, which is what I'm going to do. And we're going to move all the attributes into a new comp. And I'm actually just going to call that footage. Make it easy to find later. I'll turn off the audio again, even though there's no audio. It's just part of my process. And that's good. Now the next thing that we need to do, having pre-composed that, is create a new layer. So you come up, layer, new, and we're going to say solid. Now you can see, you can either do it that way, or if you prefer shortcuts on your keyboard, it's just Control Y, and we're going to have a new solid. It's all correct, that's good. And actually I'll just hit enter and I'll call it matte because that's what it's going to be eventually. And we're going to come back up to effect. Now there's a couple ways you can get to effect. If you've never done it before, and I don't know, perhaps you haven't, you can either go up to the menu and select effect. If you come down and you've got your layer selected, you can right click and then you can select effect is right about in the middle of all of the options that you've got. Or if you come into the Effects Control tab, you can right-click there and it gives you all of the effects. Okay, so there are 3 ways to get into the effects within After Effects. So what we are going to do is actually to generate CC light sweep. So it gives you this beam of light through that black solid we just created. Now we're going to just set that to 90 degrees. We're going to drop that down just for the start of this tutorial to about the middle, thereabouts. We're going to be creating a matte. Basically, it's like alpha channels in Photoshop. If that's what you've used before, then you kind of have an idea of how that works. Basically, we need to have absolute white and absolute black. And then After Effects will interpret the effects that we're applying based on that kind of alpha channel. And that means that we, as it stands, it's very gray. It's just gray in the middle. I mean, we might look at it and go, oh, it's a little bit white, but it's not really. It's gray. So After Effects wouldn't actually apply the effect that we want to apply with this current setting. So this is what we need to do. We actually need to increase that sweep intensity to at least 100. So now at 100, you can see through the middle of the frame, it's got a solid beam. It's only tiny, but it's there. And what we're going to do then is increase the width as well. Okay, so that's probably too high. Let's make it, for now, let's make it 200. And the sweep intensity, let's actually increase the sweep intensity. Let's have a look at, say, 160. Now, the interesting thing is within this particular effect with CC light sweep, you can see, particularly on the right-hand side there, it's got a bit of a bar of light going down the side. We don't want that. So edge thickness, if we were to increase that, you'd actually see that it gives a bit more of that edge on the side. We don't want any thickness at all. So let's go to 0. So the effect goes all the way through to the very edge of the frame. You know what? I think I'm going to increase that intensity. Maybe I'll come up to 200 for now. Maybe I'll increase the width to 220. Thereabouts. Yeah, that's all right. So what we need to do now, because we're going to apply another effect, this layer also needs to be pre-composed. So you can right-click and go pre-compose. If you've got your layer selected, you can go up to the Layer tab and come down to pre-compose. Or as you can see, it's got the keyboard shortcut there as well, which is Control Shift and C. We're going to just call it matte. Now, it's covering the footage. Doesn't help, right? So let's turn off the matte layer for now because we're just going to be using it as a matte mask afterwards. Click on the footage layer again, come up to effects, however you want to do that, and we're actually going to choose blur and sharpen and come down to camera lens blur. And it's going to apply a lens blur. Surprise, surprise. Applies a lens blur to the whole image. Now I actually want to increase this to, let's say, 9. Yeah, I think nine's pretty good in terms of the blur radius. Now we want to repeat the edge pixels so that the blur goes to the very edge of the frame once again. But this isn't what we need for the tilt shift effect. Under blur map, there's layer, and currently it says none and source is none. So if you click on the drop down for the layer under none and choose matte, what you see now is there's some blur. But the blur is in the middle of the frame and the outer edges of the frame are not blurred. Obviously not what we having a bit of language difficulty. Obviously not what we want. What we want is to invert that, and so just click on that checkbox, invert blur map, and there you have it. It looks a little bit soft to me. And you can really dial this in. If you did nothing else, that would be a really good start. But this is where you need to take some time perhaps to kind of dial in some more of the settings to really make it look like a genuine tilt shift, particularly if you want to make it look like it's a miniature world. And the thing with miniature world is it's hyper realistic. You shouldn't be thinking, I want it to look realistic. You need to make it hyper realistic. Think about it. If you have Lego, for example, if you have a little Lego man or a woman or any of the other characters, they're hyper realistic colors, aren't they? It's the blue is like a real blue, and the red is a really vibrant red. So what you should do is really ramp up the saturation and those kind. Look, I'll even do it. I'll right click, color correction. I'm going to go for Lumetri color myself because I like playing around in Lumetri. I'll open up the curves, just add a couple of keyframes there. I'll increase the brightness and I'll drop down there just so there's some serious contrasty, making it a little less realistic looking. That looks okay. Let's go for creative. Yeah, let's increase the vibrance, I think. Maybe to 25. And the saturation, let's really oversaturate it. Maybe 125%. I think that looks all right. That certainly looks less realistic now, doesn't it? So that, for now, at least for our tutorial sake, is going to be all I'll need to do there. One of the things that you can really do, because we're using the matte, we can really even try to blur things out significantly more. Let's say we want the background to actually be more blurred than the foreground. So just while we're in this shot, okay, just clicking with no layers selected, just click on the pen tool, make sure that your fill is black, and I'm just going to, in this particular illustration at least, I'm going to do a bit of a draw around some of these elements, and now just draw outside, and yep, okay, so now you've got this black shape layer. Just click on the layer. I just want to copy it, come into the matte and paste it. Okay, so you can see now that gradient has a very harsh blackness at the top. So that's probably a bit too harsh. Maybe if I just add a little bit of a blur to that, just let's say a fast box blur, repeat the edge pixels, increase the blur. So now it's got a bit more of a gradient into that. And now if I come back to the comp layer and actually if I just disable that, now you can see the background, because it's got that real solid black all the way at the top, it's got more blur than the foreground. So you can really play around and dial that in for yourself. Okay, and there you have it. We're done. So I'm just going to render this out for you, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So let's get that going. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. We are done for today's Vlogstock Friday. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I know that I was speeding through it quite quickly. If you find it was a little bit too quick, then just do what I do. Press pause and rewind, and then just watch it again. I'm really happy to be able to do this kind of tutorial, because these are the kind of tutorials that I've learned off. And it's from guys like Premium Beads and who else? Film Riot, No Film School, and the Peter McKinnons and Casey Neistats, and a whole bunch of people. All of my learnings have been through trial and error, firstly, but then also watching a lot of tutorials. And so I just wanted to pay that forward. Because I've learned from tutorials, I thought it'd be great for Vlogstock Friday this week just to share some of the stuff that I've learned. And if it's helpful for you, fantastic. If it's been really helpful for you, then do me a favor. Click on the like button. Come on, you knew that was coming, right? That's the way that it works.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then please consider doing that today. Subscribe to the channel. You get all of the latest news and info, all the latest Vlogstock Friday stuff. And if you hit the notification bell, we'll let you know. YouTube will let you know as soon as it's live. Sound good? Then come on, like video, subscribe to the channel. Pretty easy. It's Shane from waitingtobeseen.com. So glad that you joined me for this week's Vlogstock Friday, and we'll see you next week. You guys are awesome. We'll see you around.
That's gonna leave a mark. What?